Let me tell you something strange about the human brain. It's brilliant at survival, but terrible at greatness, because evolution didn't design your mind for success, leadership, or wealth. It designed it for comfort, for safety, for doing just enough to not get eaten by a lion, not for writing a book, building a business, or mastering self-discipline. That's why your brain resists power, growth, and change. It prefers the predictable pain of procrastination over the uncertain thrill of progress. It tells you, we'll start in 5 minutes, and those 5 minutes become 5 years. But here's the paradox. The people who learn to force their brain to do hard things don't just succeed, they evolve. They develop what I call the Lotus Mindset, the psychological discipline to grow in mud, to bloom through resistance. And this isn't about toxic productivity or endless hustle. It's about rewiring your decision-making, emotional control, and focus systems so your brain stops fighting you and starts working for you. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how high performers, billionaires, and Stoic thinkers train their minds to obey, not by suppressing emotion, but by mastering it. You'll learn the 5 psychological principles that turn discomfort into direction and effort into effortless flow. Because success isn't about forcing yourself harder, it's about training your brain smarter. So if you've ever asked yourself, why can't I stay consistent? This video will change how you think, work, and live. Comment 1 word below, discipline, if you're ready to break your brain's comfort loop and start your transformation today. The first thing you must understand is this. Your brain isn't lazy, it's protective. When you face something difficult, studying, building, creating, leading, your mind doesn't say no out of weakness. It says no because, to your primitive wiring, uncertainty equals danger. That's why success begins not with effort, but with awareness. You can't outwork a brain you don't understand. Every time you hesitate, every time you scroll instead of start, a small part of your mind whispers, "Stay safe." That whisper is ancient. It once kept your ancestors alive, but in the modern world, that same whisper keeps you average. The Lotus Mindset begins here, by seeing resistance not as an enemy, but as a message. Your brain isn't fighting you because it's broken. It's fighting because it doesn't yet know the difference between survival and success. So when you feel that inner pull to stop, don't suppress it. Study it. Name it. Because awareness is the first form of control. Pause and say to yourself, "Nice try, brain. I know what you're doing." In that moment, the invisible becomes visible, and neuroscience backs this. Labeling your thoughts activates the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making center, taking power away from your emotional circuitry. You've just shifted from autopilot to conscious command. That's the first petal of the lotus, awareness. The second petal is resistance, and learning to dance with it. Most people try to conquer resistance by force. They call it discipline, but what they really mean is punishment. They treat the mind like an enemy to be subdued, not a partner to be trained. But here's the paradox. What you resist persists. The harder you push against your own avoidance, the stronger it becomes. So the Lotus Mindset doesn't fight resistance. It redirects it. Instead of saying, "I must finish this massive task," say, "I'll just begin." Instead of, "I have to run 5 miles," say, "I'll put on my shoes." Instead of, "I'll write the book," say, "I'll write 1 sentence." This tiny shift disarms the brain's alarm system, the amygdala, which interprets big goals as threats. When you shrink the task, the threat disappears. And the moment you start, dopamine, your motivation molecule, releases not at the finish line, but at the first step. This is how high performers break inertia. They don't wait to feel ready. They act small to think big, because once the brain feels momentum, it forgets to resist. That's the second petal, turning resistance into motion. Comment one word right now: momentum. If you understand that the hardest part of progress is not effort, but initiation. The third petal is redirection, the art of transforming emotional energy into productive flow. Most people believe they need to eliminate distraction, but distraction is not the disease, it's a symptom. The real issue is emotional displacement. You don't check your phone because you're weak. You check it because you're anxious, because the silence between tasks feels unbearable. So instead of fighting distraction, trace it back to emotion. Ask, what am I trying not to feel right now? When you answer honestly, your focus returns, because you've replaced shame with understanding. Emotional mastery isn't about killing emotion, it's about using it. Channel anxiety into preparation. Channel fear into awareness. Channel boredom into curiosity. Every emotion has energy. The Lotus Mindset teaches you to recycle it. Think of your brain like a river, not a battlefield. If you dam it up with guilt and self-criticism, it floods. But if you guide it with purpose, it flows. And when it flows, work becomes meditation. That's when time dissolves, focus sharpens, and your effort feels effortless. You're no longer forcing yourself, you're following yourself. This is where high performers live. This is where billionaires, athletes, and philosophers operate, not from pressure, but from presence. Flow doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what matters with full attention. That's the third petal, emotional redirection. The fourth petal is focus, but not the kind you think of, not the caffeine-fueled tunnel vision or productivity hack kind of focus. True focus is a spiritual act. It's choosing one thing while letting go of 1,000 others. In the digital age, distraction isn't just noise, it's identity confusion. Every notification is a tiny negotiation between who you are and who the world wants you to be. So focus becomes an act of rebellion. When you sit still with your work, when you devote yourself to something that doesn't pay off instantly, you are reclaiming your sovereignty. Because the modern brain has been hijacked by novelty. Every swipe releases dopamine. Every like teaches your neurons that reward should be instant. But greatness, true mastery, is built on delayed dopamine. It's the skill of waiting for the long-term thrill. When you train your focus system to resist the micro-rewards of distraction, you rewire your brain's reward circuit. You build endurance in your attention. This is how monks meditate for hours, how artists paint for days, how leaders make decisions that take decades to unfold. They don't have superhuman willpower. They've simply trained their brain to love the long game. That's the fourth petal, the discipline of attention. And finally, the fifth petal, mastery. This is where all the other petals converge into something greater. Patience. Every lotus blooms in mud, and mud isn't comfortable. It's uncertain, slow, and silent. But that's the point. Because mastery is born in the places where nothing seems to be happening. When you work day after day without validation, without applause, that's where the bloom begins. When you show up not for dopamine but for devotion, that's when the mud turns into medicine. This is the phase where your brain finally rewires itself, where repetition becomes ritual, where effort becomes identity. Neuroscience calls it automaticity, the moment when a behavior moves from conscious struggle to unconscious flow. But in philosophy, it's called grace, because mastery isn't about control, it's about surrender. The lotus doesn't bloom by forcing itself open. It blooms by trusting the process. That's the fifth petal, patience through purpose. So, let's put it all together. The Lotus Mindset is not a motivational trick. It's a neurological and spiritual system for growth. 1. Awareness. Catch the comfort loop. 2. Resistance. Turn friction into motion. 3. Redirection. Convert emotion into energy. 4. Focus. Anchor your attention to purpose. 5. Mastery. Trust the bloom. These 5 petals form the architecture of transformation. And if you stay with them long enough, your brain stops being the enemy. It becomes the ally. You begin to crave discipline. You start to find peace in effort, and the hard things that once felt impossible start to feel inevitable. Because when you force your brain to do hard things, you're not just changing habits, you're changing identity. You're teaching yourself that growth is safe, and when your brain finally believes that, your potential becomes limitless. So, let's make this real. Right now, think of one thing you've been avoiding. The workout, the project, the conversation. Whatever it is, that's your mud. Start with 1 minute. Breathe through the resistance. And remember, you're not supposed to feel ready. You're supposed to begin anyway. Comment one word below. Evolve, if you're ready to train your mind to bloom through discomfort. There's a quiet moment that comes after discipline, after the sweat, after the struggle. It's the silence of becoming. When you've trained your brain to do hard things long enough, something changes. The voice that once said, "I can't," becomes, "I can." And eventually, "I am." That's when the lotus finally blooms. Not because it escaped the mud, but because it used the mud as nourishment. See, the Lotus Mindset isn't about perfection. It's about transformation. It's about choosing growth, even when growth hurts. Most people spend their lives waiting to feel ready, but readiness is an illusion. It's a story your comfort zone tells to keep you still. If you only move when it's easy, you'll spend your life circling the same pond, never touching the deep water. But when you move while afraid, when you show up despite confusion, fatigue, or fear, that's when your identity shifts. Because every act of courage rewires your brain for more. You're teaching your neurons that challenge is safe, and that fear is simply energy waiting to be directed. The greats, the Stoics, the entrepreneurs, the leaders, the thinkers, they all understood one thing. Mastery isn't about eliminating pain. It's about alchemizing it. Pain becomes focus. Focus becomes flow. Flow becomes freedom. That's the secret billionaires, philosophers, and warriors share. Not wealth, not talent, but trained minds. Minds that don't obey emotion. They understand it. Minds that know discomfort is not punishment. It's proof of growth. Because what separates greatness from mediocrity is not intelligence or luck. It's the willingness to feel discomfort without running away. That's why the Lotus Mindset is timeless. Because it's not about tricks. It's about truth. Let me leave you with 5 reflections, simple but powerful. 1. Begin small, but begin now. The mind respects motion. Action breaks resistance faster than thought. When in doubt, start. Even 1 minute counts. 2. Label the lie. When your brain whispers later, recognize it as a survival glitch, not a lack of willpower. Name it, expose it, then move. 3. Feel, don't flee. Emotion is data. Don't silence it, study it. Every fear hides a value. Every hesitation hides a lesson. 4. Protect your attention like a sacred space. Every click, every scroll, every needless thought steals from your becoming. Guard it. Focus is the new fortune. 5. Trust the bloom. Progress is invisible before it's inevitable. Just because you can't see change doesn't mean it isn't happening beneath the surface. Because the truth is, you're not building habits, you're building identity. And identity compounds quietly. You'll notice it one morning. You'll wake up before the alarm. You'll sit down to work without negotiation. You'll choose growth over comfort. And you'll realize the old you has gone. You didn't destroy them. You evolved beyond them. That's what it means to force your brain to do hard things. Not to dominate it, but to lead it. To become the conscious captain of your biology, rather than a passenger in its impulses. And that's the real power. Not money, not fame, not followers, but self-command. The quiet ability to tell your brain, "We're doing this," and watch it obey. Not out of fear, but respect. Because discipline is freedom disguised as effort. And the moment you embrace that truth, life stops feeling like a fight and starts feeling like art. So as this video ends, ask yourself, what's the one hard thing you'll begin today? What's the one act of courage that can rewrite your story? Start there, because the lotus only blooms for those willing to step into the mud. And if you've made it this far, you already have what it takes. You've proven that your attention can endure. Now let your action catch up. Comment one word below. Bloom, because that's what this journey is about. To rise, to evolve, to bloom.